At the end of Stranger Things Season 4, a plan is created to go into the Upside Down and kill Vecna while he is distracted with his mental attack on the character of Max. In this plan, Eddie Munson and Dustin are tasked with distracting the Demibats. This is to allow the rest of the group to make their way into the house in the Upside Down and kill Vecna while he is in his meditation state. Plan is solid and everyone has their roles. Of course, things don't go as planned, and ultimately Eddie ends up dying during the final battle. When it comes down to the narrative structure of his story arc, this ending does make a lot of sense. He is set up as a flawed individual that tends to run from fights, but still has a heart of gold underneath it all. He describes himself as not being a hero, and he doesn't feel like he is made of the right stuff to battle evil. His final fate is even foreshadowed in the D&D game, where the characters are given the chance to either run or to fight the villain Vecna. In this game, they choose to fight and barely win by rolling a saving 20, thus setting up for when Eddie himself would have to choose to run or fight when the time came down to it. When he chooses to leave the trailer to further distract and fight the Demibats, it completes his story arc as he overcomes his main weakness. But for me, this ending just didn't sit well, and I think he ultimately sacrificed himself for really nothing. And I do literally mean that nothing was gained from him sacrificing himself. Eddie and Dustin's goal was to just distract the bats long enough to allow the rest of the group a chance to get into the house and fight Vecna. Based off the scene, it took the Demibats about 3-ish minutes to fly from the house to the trailer while Eddie was playing on his guitar, and they then battled the bats for at least several minutes before they were about to retreat to the regular Hawkins. So at least about 5 minutes of distraction was given to the rest of the group to make their way into the house. And the bats showed no signs of wanting to travel back to the Upside Down house, even if the bats started traveling back right away as they went back to the regular Hawkins. It probably would have still taken them about 3 minutes of flight to get back in time. So in effect, they had given enough time for the rest of the group to complete their side of the mission. The fact that the rest of the group was already given the time they needed is also proven when shortly after Eddie dies, the bats fall from the sky dead because the team has successfully attacked Vecna, just showing that Eddie's sacrifice did not add any crucial time that the other group needed. Even if the Demibats started heading back to the house immediately after Eddie and Dustin had retreated back to the normal Hawkins, the bats would not have made it back in time to actually help Vecna in any way. Also, if we assume the character of Eddie didn't know how much longer the distraction was needed, then maybe this justified him throwing himself at the creatures to give the rest of the group a little bit more time. Perhaps this made sense from his perspective, but I would logically disagree with this assessment. If your job is to distract them and you are doing that perfectly fine behind protected walls, then why would you leave your walls? They were safe inside the trailer, and retreating back to the trailer on the Hawkins side just made sense because the Demibats were following them and they could have distracted them from a more secured location other than just running out in the open. Retreating to a more secured location does not make you less brave. It is just more strategically smart. But overall, I do think the ending made sense for his character arc, but it just didn't make sense in the context of what was actually going on in the scene. It would seem that the only reason the character ran out to distract the bats in the open was for him to somehow prove to himself that he was brave.
I didn't run away this time, right?
However, he had already proven himself brave by doing what he had done up to this point, and there was no reason to sacrifice himself when it really wasn't needed. He could have accomplished distracting the bats, but done it in a safe way so that he wouldn't have had to die. There's a few scenarios that would have made this make more sense. Perhaps in one scenario, Vecna was calling the bats back to the house to help him fight the other group, so therefore Eddie had to go out in the open to try and distract them and keep them from returning. That would have at least made more sense. Or perhaps Dustin or another character had been captured by them and he was running out to save them. You could have even done a story arc where the bully Jason ended up in the Upside Down and Eddie left the trailer to save him and sacrificed himself for the person that was hunting him down and hated him. This would have made a good ending to Jason's character arc as well, because he would have returned to Hawkins with the news that Eddie was a hero. Either way, there are lots of scenarios you could come up with that would make more sense than what we were given. Eddie did not need to sacrifice himself, and him running out in the open to distract the demi-bats literally did nothing to give any more time to the other group or to save anyone. It was a needless sacrifice, and it just left me slightly unsatisfied with his death. But please give me your thoughts. Thanks for watching and have a great day.